whatever. So I let them stay at my house for a few nights because I was never really home for real. I was always staying at my man's house. But you know, after a while go on, I'm gonna come home. Money coming in the bed with me. Money coming in secretly. Money coming in this. I've been in the house all day binge watching movies, so I was watching Soul Food, and I got to the part where Cousin Faith was, you know, Terry's husband. So it inspired me to get up here and tell my story about my cousin Faith, because I know everybody got a cousin Faith around, regardless if it's a friend, a sister, a cousin, a niece, or whoever. So I got a niece that's the same age as me. Oh, before I start telling my story too, with my last story time about Rent-A-Center, y'all say that I'm long-winded, I got ADHD, I tell 10,000 minute stories in one story. You have to tell certain details of a story so people can understand the story. Without the details, that's like a pie with no filling. So back to the story. I got a niece that's the same age as me or whatever. So she was dating this guy at the time or whatever. He was a younger guy. He was younger than her, but together they had like 4 or 5 kids or whatever. His brother had ended up getting into some trouble. Somebody had came and boom, pew, pew, at the house or whatever. I can't remember if they moved out because they feared for their lives or if the landlord ended up putting them out. All I know is they had to move. So they were staying in hotels or whatever. With them staying in hotels, they kept applying for cribs, but they kept getting denied. So each night, their money is getting lower and lower. I was dating a guy who owned properties or whatever. So I ended up asking my friend or whatever, could he rent a place to them? My niece was like, can you please ask them? I asked him. At first, he was like, no, he didn't want to rent a place to them. He don't want to rent the family, all of that or whatever. So I let them stay at my house for a few nights because I was never really home for real. I was always staying at my man's house. But, you know, after a while go on, I'm going to come home. So I really needed them to find a place. 2 nights with them being into the townhouse, her boyfriend ends up going to jail. When he go to jail, I think he was in jail for like 2 weeks or whatever. He ends up getting a bond. When he got out, she was already wanted. So she ended up going to jail like literally right after he got out. She sat in jail for probably like, I think like 6 to 8 months, something like that. The whole time she was in jail, he had women in and out of the house, in and out the house. One day somebody calls me or whatever. This is how I end up finding out. Somebody ended up calling me and was like, go look at such live on Facebook. So the girl was up there on live drinking a Capri Sun and eating fruit snacks in her bed. And she was like, yeah, I'm in this B bed, eating her kids' fruit snacks, drinking their Capri Suns. Then the other girl got up there and was like, yeah, we just made us another baby in that bed. This is one of his previous baby mamas. He got her pregnant in the house. So, you know, my niece is in jail, like, going through it, like, oh, my God, I can't believe he's doing this to me. So, mind you, he had ended up getting sentenced to some time for when he had went to jail and got out on bond. He got sentenced to some time, but he explained to the judge that he was a full-time daddy and that my niece was in jail or whatever. So, the judge was nice enough to tell him, like, look, once y'all figure out her time, we can figure out a time when you can come turn yourself in. So once she got sentenced, the judge set it up so that when she come home, he goes in. So when she got out, he had 2 weeks to turn himself in. So I'm telling my niece, like, yeah, you about to dog walk him when he get out. You know, he did you dirty, whatever. She ends up throwing a cookout for him for going away. That's what I thought the cookout was for. So I end up going out there to the cookout or whatever, you know, to see him away. Hey, go do your 2 years in jail. Then it's her turn to have people in the crib. So he somebody ends up calling, was like, yeah, I see you was at the wedding reception. I'm like, what wedding reception? They like, yeah, your niece had a wedding reception. I said, girl, that was a going away cookout. They said no. That was their celebration because they went down there to the Justice of the Peace and got married. So I called her. I'm like, you married him? You married him? At first she was lying about it. Then she ended up admitting, yes, she did marry him, which I thought was the most stupidest thing ever. So I had kind of fell back from her a little bit. I really wasn't talking to her like that. On top of that, she needed to focus because now the person who pays the bills is going to jail, and then you got a background, so it's not just that easy for you to get out here and get a job like that. So now she got to try to figure out how she gonna pay the bills. I don't want to make the video too long because then it's going to take too long to upload. Go to part 2 on how I found out my niece was sleeping with my man. Y'all people on TikTok is really crazy. Let me hurry up and start this story time before I get beat up. Alright, so boom. So months go down the line or whatever. I don't talk to my niece. I wasn't talking to her because I felt some type of way about her getting married after the dude did all of that to her. So she ends up calling me one day, you know, like asking me why she hadn't heard from me, why I wasn't talking to her. I kept everything short, sweet, and simple. So her mom ends up moving down here, which is my sister. And she was living in Atlanta, and she went to the store, came back home. Her boyfriend had died, but that's neither here nor there. So anyways, my sister was living back down here now. I ended up going out one night with my friend. She lived in a different city than me. So she came and picked me up. The plan was for me to stay the night at her house after the club. But once we went to the club, I didn't feel like staying the night. So I ended up calling my sister to see if she happened to be on that side because she hung in that city. So she was like, yeah, she would pick me up, give me a ride home. She come pick me up, I get in the car with her or whatever, and we talking to her, and she telling me how my niece's attitude had been real bad. So I was telling her, like, yeah, because my dude went around there yesterday to go fix her AC, and while I'm on the phone with him, her attitude was real nasty. And she was like, tuh, you ain't crazy. Put that shit together, sis. Girl, put what together? What is you talking about? She was like, you ain't stupid. I said, what you mean I ain't stupid? I was stupid. I was totally oblivious because I didn't know what the fuck she was talking about. So she was like, listen, I don't got no stone facts or whatever. She was like, but I think they messing with each other. So I was like, why you think they messing with each other? So she just started like naming stuff. She was like, he had got her a car. She said that the rent had went from one price. She said he was giving her care credit to get the kids some glasses. He had gave her a gift card to go get some Victoria's Secret. I was like, what? So I ended up calling him, asking him about it or whatever. Of course, he denied it. I ended up calling her, asking her about it. Of course, she denied it. She started downplaying her own mama, da da da. This is how I found out for a fact that they were. And I wasn't just speculating. 2 days after I found that out about them, that's when I ended up taking my trip up the road to prison. I went to jail though, you know, of course it took time before I got sentenced to prison or whatever, but I had ended up getting locked up or whatever. And while I was in jail, he still never admitted it. But I really wasn't talking to him like that because I knew it wasn't a lie. She ends up being wanted for a murder or conspiracy to a murder. This is how everything was solid that they was dealing with each other. Someone had ended up getting murdered in her house. And when they went on a hunt to go look for her, they ended up kicking in his house because he was the landlord of the house. And I guess they had got word that him and her was, I don't know. All I know is that they found her at his house butt ball naked. A lot of people in the comments kept asking me to get up here and to do a part 3 of the story about my niece, but it's really not much to part 3 besides he ended up admitting it. I asked him, like, how did y'all even get to that point? He told me he went around her house one day to go fix something, and she was like, you look stressed out, like you need your sup. So that's how they ended up starting whatever they had. And he really honestly was just a man that just won't bout nothing. While I was away, he actually ended up having a baby by one of his kids' mom's best friend. And her and this girl have been best friends forever. And his reasoning for having a baby by his baby mama's best friends was because, and y'all about to really laugh at this because y'all kept asking, why does everybody end up going to jail? This the kicker. He ended up going to jail too. He had his stuff together or whatever, but he was a computer maniac. He knew how to get up there and make it do what it do. He made one of his baby mamas mad, and they called the feds on him and told the feds everything that he had going on. So when he go to court, he ends up getting out on the little monitor thing or whatever. He said that none of his baby mamas would come over there and come see him, and he had needs and all of this. And The best friend ended up just coming over one day, and they made it. She was the only one that paid him some attention. Another thing was, he always talked about how when he was younger, all the girls would joke him and say he was ugly and he was dirty, and he used to say he couldn't wait to get older and get his money up, and he was gonna go back and get it every beat that ever did him dirty. When I first met him, he told me he was 35. He used to do so much for me that I decided I was going to book him a flight to go to Vegas one day. And he sent me a picture of his ID. I found out he was 42. So, yeah, he was just a fraud. But I don't talk to him. I don't talk to her. Um, and about the whole everybody going back and forth to prison, listen, everybody come from different walks of life. I'm really transparent with my life. I don't mind sharing my stories or none of that, because like the rent center story, for example, that rent center story can help an 18-year-old girl out here to not make the same mistake that I did. This story with my niece and my ex-dude also helped somebody as well. Like, I don't care who in the bind. Don't put nobody on to your man. And as far as jail goes, listen, your life is what you make it. And your outcomes will depend on what you surround yourself around and the people that you surround yourself around. So if you surround yourself around people that's in and out of jail, you 9 times out of 10 you going to jail. You surround yourself around people that scheming and scamming, 9 times out of 10 you gonna become a scammer. So that's what I was surrounding myself around at the time. Everybody was scammers. Everybody was doing something that wasn't right. Everybody was in and out of jail. So guess where I was at? In and out of jail. I went to prison when I was 25. I got out when I was 29. I'm 31 now. I've been home for 2 years. I wouldn't dare go back there. Ain't no amount of money, none of that. It's worth the time that they took away from me. All of that in there. Somebody telling you when to eat, sleep, using the bathroom behind them girls, they coochie stinking, like being on the bus, going in transit, on a plane in handcuffs. Like, nobody could never pay me to go back there. Fighting over the telephone, like, never.
This entire story was a hot ghetto mess. Why are they going to jail? Not once, not twice, but 3 times. All of them are just taking turn going to jail and taking turn sleeping with each other's man. And then the fact that the man just came out and just told her straight up, I respect him for that. Talking about, oh, I just went to the house one day and she owed me rent, or I went to go fix the AC and she said, oh, you look stressed, like you need your suck. And he just let her have it. What? And then she came out of jail and just throw a barbecue party, and all of a sudden, that's not even just a barbecue party. It's her man's, or is their wedding reception party. When did they get married? I miss all of that. I feel like this whole story just kind of went over my head. Everybody's going to jail. Everybody's sleeping with each other, and then the cousin ended up coming out that she went to jail for taking someone